Hi, I'm Antonia K. Moore and thank you for checking out my channel AKM TV, the place to be to make you your better self in life and in the music business. And today I'm going to chat about how to make revenue streams when you're a musician starting out, so stay tuned. Don't forget as well to subscribe to my channel and also hit the bell for notifications. I'm going to be talking lots more about tips in the music industry and also as an entrepreneur in general, and plus as well in lots of other self-development areas. So lots of more videos to come in the future. Thank you once again for checking out my channel, and I'm going to dive right into my tips for creating revenue as a musician starting out. So one of them actually is GoFundMe, which is an obvious one and one they probably already use. But the trick about GoFundMe as well is it does take a good bit of work actually. You can't really just like put up your music videos or your links, etc., and write a little description and ask for money to create your next album or your next gig. It does take a lot of work and effort because it's flooded with people going up there looking for money, looking for supporters in search of that bit of income to monetize their profession. But unfortunately, what you need to do is you need to actually be on it nearly every day or every other day and really be pushing it out there into the social media stratosphere. Particularly, actually, another little tip would be on Pinterest. Pinterest is actually not really used that much with musicians, but it is one of the biggest search engines. Of course, not as big as Google, Twitter, and I think Pinterest is fairly up there as well. So you'd want to check out Pinterest. I mean, even if you have a music flyer, one of your latest gigs or performances, throw that up there in Pinterest, pin it. If you have your music video, pin it. Any sort of anything at all that you have, throw it up there, like pin your website as well. There's a lot of traffic that actually comes from Pinterest because it's all image based, just like Instagram. So people like to go on Pinterest and just put in music, put in this, put in that, and all of these different boards come up. So you can generate a lot of traffic actually from Pinterest. That's definitely want to check out. But regards GoFundMe, you need to be able to put up fresh content on at least a weekly basis. So you need to be able to putting up YouTube videos on a weekly basis. You need to be linking to your social media and tweeting about it, Instagramming it, Snapchatting it, Facebooking it, and any other platform that you use, literally as much as possible, because the more you push your GoFundMe out there, the more people are going to see it, the more supporters you're going to get, and then of course the more revenue you're going to get in, and then the more creative you're going to be able to get with making your album, EP, or gigging. Also, another thing I would suggest too is you could possibly do what they call like house gigs. So rather than, as like apparently it's similar to couch surfing, but except for you're actually like going from house to house playing little concerts. That's another way as well, like to do a bit of touring and also to generate a bit of revenue. So you could go to your local town and say, look, I'm going to play a gig for you in your house, and just throw us like, you know, a few quid, like 20 quid or whatever. So that's another cool way of actually making some revenue. If you've been a musician for such a long time now, you are bound to have instruments lying around the place that you're not using, that you don't really need anymore, and that you've been meaning to fix but never actually got around to it. Trust me, it's just going to be sitting there for another while, so just get rid of it. Put it on eBay, put it into your local second-hand store, whatever you want to do, but you can actually put it up in even Facebook Marketplace as well. That's another way to shift it and just get a little bit of extra cash for that. Like whether it's 20 euros, 50 euros, it all matters, it all counts. One other thing as well that's actually not necessarily overlooked but kind of, you know, turned away from in the music industry is gigging at weddings. It is quite profitable if you are starting out, so I would definitely suggest to do so. I mean, even if you're playing, say, something like along the lines of like Spanish guitar, like in the reception entry into a wedding or whatever it is, afterwards you could be doing like the after party, you could be DJing, or even you could be the main band actually at the wedding as well. It is quite lucrative and I would suggest doing it. And of course as well, like the biggest form of marketing is actually word of mouth, and the reason why is because it's already tried and tested. People have already heard you, they've already seen you, and so therefore if you're playing, say, at one person's wedding and they turn to their friend that's getting married and they say like, oh my god, my wedding band or my DJ was fantastic, the crowd loved him, he played great music, everyone enjoyed it, they're going to go, oh right, okay, boom, job done. They're not going to have to go out searching, listening, or anywhere else for somebody. Basically, it's a tried and tested product. They'll go straight to you directly from the horse's mouth. So actually, it's a huge way as well to develop that word of mouth and marketing as well, to be able to get out there and showcase your talents at weddings and functions, and have it be quite lucrative as well. And you never know who's going to be there. You could meet somebody there that could be, you know, your next collaborator, your next could join your band, could be anything. So it's a great way as well, like to actually get in there and get out there and get some music or get some money in. Gigging in cafes, if you can imagine actually gigging in a cafe, again being like, say if you're a singer, songwriter, whatever musician you are, or a DJ, if you're going to be like, say, providing like the after party of a club or something like that, or if you're going to be just creating the mood or the atmosphere, the scene inside in a cafe, you know, when some people are having their coffee on a Saturday morning, it's a huge way as well to actually get a bit of extra coin, because you know, if you're providing great atmosphere, people are enjoying it, and it isn't too often you actually do see live music in cafes, but it is really lovely when you do go into a cafe and there is live music there. And of course you're going to be bringing in people as well, because they go, oh, this is something different, this is new, this is really nice and relaxing and soothing. So therefore obviously the manager or the owner is going to be happy, and you could probably be regular there as well, like every Saturday playing in your local cafe would be fantastic. Another one as well is shopping malls. Again, like, you know, something like a Saturday or a Sunday, people are around, they're strolling, they're just, you know, having a little browse in the stores. And so if you could provide that like backdrop, you know, for, you know, a bit of atmosphere and a bit of mood setting, that's also great. Or even if you're a full band and you want to kind of bring up the energy a little bit, like on a Sunday or a Saturday, even inside in a shopping mall, that would be really cool as well. People will stop and they'll check you out. And yeah, you actually get paid as well, like from the shopping mall, as opposed to being out there on the street and just getting whatever tips you're getting thrown your way. So check that out as well. Another way of making a really good income is session work. So if you're hiring yourself out for studios, if you're hiring yourself out to other bands, etc. Say for example, if somebody drops out of the of a night of being able to play, and you're a drummer, you can just like step right in and get paid for the night. Or if you're, you know, in studio, obviously you get paid for your time as well. So something to look into is definitely session musicians, as a lot of people actually do search for session musicians, because it might be a solo act themselves, but they might just need something, you know, like backing vocal, or they might need someone to do some bass guitar or some drums or whatever that may be. So therefore, to hire yourself out like as a session musician too is highly lucrative. It's another little way to kind of make a little bit of extra income, so I would definitely check that out if I were you. Streaming is another way of making some money. There are multiple streaming platforms out there, so the best thing to probably do to save yourself a little bit of time is probably pay for an aggregator site to actually disperse your music to many different streaming platforms. You might not get very much money or get much, you know, well paid for it. But at the same time too, it is a great way of making some money. I mean, for example, even like, you know, a few euros, a few dollars, a few pounds, it all counts and it all piles up and it all matters. So, you know, it's better than nothing, and it's another way as well of having your music out there and even being discovered. I mean, even say for example you have Spotify, like, and I mean, they put like radio stations together so they could throw your music into the mix as well. Another thing to not forget is to join memberships as well. Say for example here in Ireland you have IMRO, the Irish Music Rights Organisation, where they basically pay you royalties. So if your song is played in a cafe, anywhere publicly, if it's played in a shopping mall, if it's played in a shopping centre, in a whatever kind of store, if it's played on the radio, if it's played anywhere in public pretty much, you will get a check at the end of the month for that. Or it's probably, I think, maybe every 2 months or even every quarter. I'm not too sure how often it is, but it doesn't matter. Like, once your music is actually played in public, you basically get a royalty check every so often. It mightn't be a whole lot. I mean, it's only maybe possibly a couple of euros, a couple of dollars, a couple of pounds. Eventually that will build up then to, the more it's out there, the more you're getting played. That'll be built up then to, you know, a few hundred, a few thousand, and who knows, even more. So the best thing to do is make sure that you're getting your royalties. Of course as well, YouTube is a huge way as well of making a bit of extra cash. The thing about it is though, you need to be putting your videos up there quite consistently, and you need to be getting a lot of traction, a lot of traffic, and have a lot of production up there before you actually get looked at as getting paid on YouTube, because there are so many videos, they're not going to just like throw money out at everybody. It's if your content is relevant and if your content is actually getting ranked. And the best way to do that is, again, as I mentioned in a previous video here on YouTube, are keywords. Keywords work for everything. Basically, keywords will speak, once you sprinkle them all over your website, all over your blog, all over YouTube as well. I mean, YouTube is the second highest search engine after owned by the first highest search engine, which is Google, or the most well known and the most used search engine. So therefore, it's all part and parcel of the same thing. Google recognizes keywords. It doesn't recognize images and it doesn't recognize videos, but it recognizes keywords. So in your description for your YouTube video and in your description in your website and all over your website and all over your blog as well, make sure that your band name, your artist name, your genre, your location, all the basic keywords that you need to be discovered are always in your content. So of course, if you were to say, if you were a musician, and another tip I was going to mention as well actually is teaching. So if you're a coach, if you're like, a vocal coach, if you play guitar, if you are playing drums, whatever you're doing, the best thing to do is actually put that to practice and actually teach that. You could probably get something up to like 50, 60 euros per hour for doing vocal coaching or even for doing guitar lessons as well, because obviously you're not going to be doing it all day, every day. It's going to be a side project. So therefore your time is your quality. So therefore you'll be able to like charge for your time. And of course, giving like your how proficient you are, you can probably charge about like maybe 30 to 60 euros depending on your professionalism and your level as well. So I would definitely recommend putting up even like YouTube videos on teaching guitar, teaching vocals. You can put in up content on YouTube about anything. You can talk about your last gig. You can do your little snippets of your week and put them into monthly vlogs. You can do lots of different things. The more you put up there on YouTube, obviously, then the more recognized you're going to be through the algorithm. And say it will probably take maybe, if you were to put up a YouTube video every single week, after probably about a year, of course, depending on how fast you rank and how high you rank, and you can probably start to see a little bit of an income coming through after maybe 6 months, a year or so. It starts off very small, but eventually you'll get there. Again, as I mentioned, creating a website is key. You do definitely 100% need a website, and not a stagnant website where you just have your picture of your latest album, maybe a track and links then that go out to other sources like your SoundCloud and that. You need to have a website that is actually professionally done, that has different pages of describing who you are, what you're about, your story, your background, and yes, of course, links, but also embedded videos and embedded tracks as well. Also, you can sell things like merchandise on your website too. And again, those keywords are hugely important. So make sure you've got keywords all over your website of who you are. Keep mentioning your band's name, keep mentioning your name as an artist, keep mentioning where you are, keep mentioning your gigs, keep mentioning the same little keywords in different contexts all over your website and your blogs, no matter what story you're telling or what you're saying, because those keywords will be ranked, will help you rank then in Google. Whatever your band name is, it's keywords I cannot stress enough are so important throughout all your content, all the same keywords. So keep using your keywords, and as I said, a website is hugely important, and a professional website at that as well. You want to have different pages linking to different things, all your music embedded and all of your videos embedded as well. Well, not all of them, but some of them embedded, so people don't bounce from your website, because you want people to stay on your website. So as I mentioned as well, you can put your merchandise up there too. So I think that's hugely important to have it as professional looking as possible. And of course, the most obvious one are gigs and playing live. Playing live is very tricky, I know, when you're starting out, because it's very difficult to actually get paid, because venues expect you to play for experience or exposure. I'm aware of this. I'm actually creating an app myself at the moment called Tipjar Music, which is going to be out in a few months, particularly for musicians that have that painstaking and daunting task of actually getting paid gigs when they first initially start out. Because they're not guaranteed to actually bring in any customers, and bars and venues make their money behind the bars. So the more people that are there, the more drink that is sold, the more money they make, and that's their bottom line. If you're an artist starting out, they're not expecting you to bring in anybody, so therefore they're not going to pay you. They expect you to play for experience and exposure until you get a bit of notoriety, and until you start working up that rank and working up that ladder and getting a name for yourself, getting on radio particularly as well. Once you get there, then they're going to be like, oh right, okay, you're recognized, you've actually got a fan base. Once you establish and it's known that you have a fan base and that you are doing regular gigs, then you will get paid in venues. But up until that point, unfortunately, it is very difficult to actually get paid. But the point as well is, if you have some merchandise, even if you have maybe 2 or 3 baseball caps, a couple of t-shirts, key rings, stickers, badges, whatever it is, a CD, some vinyl, teddy bear, you can have whatever you want with your brand name on it. That is key. You can sell that as well at the gigs and venues. I mean, even if you sell a baseball hat for $5, a CD for $5, and a t-shirt for $5, that's 15 quid. It's something in a way into the back pocket. So yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed these tips anyway, and do me a favor and please do subscribe to this channel. I'm going to have lots more videos on music industry information and tips, some interviews as well, and lots more stuff coming up. Lots into self-development as well to help you get that mindset right for getting out there into the music industry and making it a business of your own. So do hit subscribe and hit the bell for updates as well. Do put in your email address down below. I have a little link down below as well on Tip Jar Music, because I'm going to be launching my app Tip Jar Music fairly soon. So if you want to be a part of that and you want to be kept updated, do put in your email address and I'll keep you all informed. And do check out my next few videos, and thank you so much for clicking on my channel. I'll see you again. Take care.